I'm offended. I'm offended on behalf of the women's. You know, I just...
Being a woman on the internet is tough, apparently. It has not been my personal experience, but then again, I've never been a content creator. So it's possible that I have just remained blind to the very real plight of my sisters. And maybe I should have listened when Anita Sarkeesian tried to warn me. And it appears that to this day, misogyny is still running rampant in online spaces. Or at least, that's what this video by Brittany Simon seems to indicate. From my limited prior exposure to Brittany's content, I believe her focus is psychology and philosophy, and she covers current events and drama through the lens of those fields of study. Her content is not for me personally, but that of course does not mean that she deserves misogynistic persecution. So let's hear her out.
Have you seen this thumbnail of me? It says the Brittany Simon Handbook, How to Exploit Your Fans. It's basically a whole video about how I'm like a cult leader.
Oh yeah, I've seen that video. It was made by a fairly new creator called Kilo the Giant, and it critiques Brittany's content and the way she chooses to engage with her audience. Stylistically, Kilo presents his arguments as chapters in a handbook, and he concludes the video by highlighting that the behavior that he believes Brittany to engage in could possibly be likened to that of a cult leader. Personally, I thought that was just a fun way to structure the video, and I did not interpret it as a serious accusation. But at the time, I was not aware that Brittany has deep-rooted Vietnam-level PTSD flashbacks to the last time that she had a similar accusation levied against her.
A few years ago, I had a run-in with a content creator named Mr. Girl. This lore goes so deep, okay? Mr. Girl, now banned on YouTube, as he should be, okay, quite controversial, accused 3 specific people of being cult-like, adjacent, or inappropriate with their work. Me, Destiny, and Dr. K.
Damn, that's tough. But listen, I have seen the video, so I know that the majority of claims within it are just Kilo's subjective opinions and interpretations, which means that it should be fairly easy to argue against by simply saying, you don't see the value in my content, but my audience does. But let's see what approach Brittany takes.
So this is Kilo, right? Kilo isn't just a random person. Whose community do you think Kilo is a part of? This is Twitter. His pinned comment on his Twitter is how Brittany Simon built an exploitative ecosystem. Freddie, whoever that is, says, very good video, Kilo. As per usual, Mr. Girl was correct. And Kilo goes, as per fucking usual. So I've got a Mr. Girl loser fan who built a conspiracy theory around me because his daddy, Mr. Girl, his cult leader, is like, Brittany Simon is a cult leader. Here we are. Kilo, the giant. Mr. Girl, bottom submissive. Literally saying Mr. Girl was right as per usual. So now we can kind of like build a narrative around why he's doing what he's doing, right? Okay, lame. Now, he made 9,000 views off me in the last 3 days. Congratulations. Very proud of you, honestly. But these people, okay, are like conspiracy theory misogynists. They're sex negative. They think like sex workers don't deserve love. They think all these women are manipulative. They have like all of these negative connotations. They make really big assertions about people.
Wow, that's a bold opening move. We have not yet started to watch Kilo's video, and we have already established that he is a sex-negative, misogynistic conspiracy theorist who is also somehow affiliated with and/or subordinate to Mr. Girl. Talk about a big assertion. But don't worry, Brittany is going to show us evidence to support this claim beyond just the one possibly humorous tweet. Right?
She pitches herself as somebody who's on a journey, who really wants to share the things that she's learned, hopefully to help you along your journey. Through philosophy, she wants to give you the tools for how to be introspective enough to achieve greater consciousness. On its face, this sounds fine, but when you start watching Brittany's content, it becomes quickly clear that she has no idea what she's talking about.
A woman has no idea what she's talking about because I can't understand her or keep up with the conversation.
Whoa, slow down. Where did the woman thing even come from? Don't get me wrong, Kilo is definitely taking shots at the quality of your content here, but he is yet to make any mention of gender. The claim that you don't know what you're talking about is a big one, but it is also a hard one to prove. So why don't we just see what arguments he makes and just try and dispute those?
For one thing, Brittany never talks about philosophy in the traditional sense.
What traditional sense? The white man Western philosophy sense? Which I do on purpose? I don't know if this man is white, but he's about to sound very white to me.
But her channel is almost entirely about dating, drama, and pop culture. My guess is Brittany uses the term because she thinks for—
Cool says, this guy, Eastern philosophy who? Literally, that's why I'm saying this is sounding a little colonizer to me, like a little bit. Forgive me for being a woman who would like to contribute her own ideas, but that's what I'm doing. And the fact that they don't think I'm qualified to do that, but some guy in his mom's basement is?
Huh? Girl, just say that philosophy is a broad term that encompasses a variety of teachings and interpretations, and he cannot possibly prove that your interpretation is any less correct or valid. Job done. A helpful chatter actually offered a similar explanation to Brittany.
Discord says your work isn't for him to understand because your work is for the people who listen to more traditional presentations of your messages and feel like it doesn't resonate. Yeah, maybe that's it.
All right, cool. So we're just gonna go ahead and say, hey mate, you don't have to understand what I'm talking about. My audience does. And just proceed without bringing gender or race into the conversation.
You just have to get the tools.
As far as I can tell, there are three main reasons why someone might decide to watch a YouTuber who makes serious or thoughtful content. Number one would be expertise. This is reserved for creators who have a professional or educational background that makes them uniquely qualified to talk about the subjects they cover. A good example of this is Dr. K. He has a medical degree and he's—
Love Dr. K. Shout out Dr. K. Reminder that the guy talking and making a video about me is a Mr. Girl orbiter. So Mr. Girl is the guy who filed a complaint against Dr. K. Just a reminder that the same guy who went after me, Destiny, and Dr. K, this is one of his orbiters. This guy agrees with Mr. Girl's assessment of me being a quote cult leader, right? So I don't even know why he's bringing up Dr. K in this video when he knows for a fact his boy literally just tried to get Dr. K in major trouble. So
you reckon it could be because he's not actually a Mr. Girl underling?
The second reason you might watch someone like this would be for their perspective. You don't always need qualifications or credentials to be well-informed and good at analyzing information. Destiny's a good example of this one. He doesn't have a background in politics, but he has a strong grasp of the topic.
So we just disagree. Destiny is allowed to be a college dropout who reads from Wikipedia, but Brittany can't, even though I've read literally thousands of books. And even though I'm bad at referencing them and all that stuff, and that's not the content I make, I'm bad at my job. Like, I like Destiny in terms of his work. He's obviously good at his job. But why is he good at his job and I'm not good at my job? I wonder if gender plays a role here. Do we think it's maybe some misogyny? Why in the world would Destiny be more qualified at his job than me qualified at mine? What do you think it is?
Well, since you asked, my guess would be that if Destiny is accused of not having a grasp on the topic, he responds by demonstrating that he does, instead of getting outraged at the accusation. Show, don't tell is generally a solid approach when it comes to demonstrating competence.
And while I'm sure that some of her audience might value Brittany's perspective on things, generally speaking, I cannot imagine that most of her viewers watch her for her takes.
I cannot imagine most of her viewers watch her for her takes. I literally have a request line. I literally have no idea. Guys, ma'am, how is this just not misogyny? This is literally misogyny. I couldn't imagine anyone actually watches Brittany Simon for her takes. I couldn't imagine, but Destiny, for sure, bro. Destiny, for sure. His takes are so good, bro. But God forbid Brittany Simon what is this take, bro? That's crazy. That's what, misogyny to the T, bro.
All right, he's clearly about to make the point that your audience watches you for your personality and the connection that they feel to you. And you can argue against this point, if you stop pausing and let him make it.
I think most of Brittany's audience belongs to the final group. This one we'll refer to as the parasocial group.
Oh, you guys, most of my audience is just parasocial. I'm not sure what this means, but let's see.
Well, luckily, he explains what he means in the second half of the sentence that you just paused.
Parasociality is a one-sided relationship that a media user, the fan, engages in with a media persona, in this case, the streamer. Parasocial relationships are complicated, and their impact on fans is pretty controversial and not well understood.
Oh, so when people watch Destiny and other men and Vegan Gains and all the other people, oh no, they're not having a parasocial experience. They're only having a parasocial experience with Brittany. Bond says bubble on bubble crimed. Yo, I'm being bubble on bubble crimed right now. Bubble on bubble crimed. I cannot even believe he is making this argument, except of course he is. He's a Mr. Girl orbiter. Of course he is.
Oh good, somehow we are back at Mr. Girl, who I'm pretty sure hates Destiny. Brittany said it herself, Mr. Girl levied the exact same cult leader accusation against Destiny. And didn't he compare Destiny's rabidly defensive fans to white blood cells, which is a sentiment that has found widespread approval and agreement both outside and within of Destiny's community? Alright.
So who exactly does Brittany try to appeal to? Who is it that gets drawn to and parasocially attached to her? This is where things start to get a little messy.
I know so many of you in my audience, right? My VC on Discord was just talking about this, how my audience is like borderlines, autistics, and ADHDers. Half my audience is autistic, my siblings. Oh, get ready for the enableism. Yo, bros. I forgot, ableism, not enableism. He's an ableist. I forgot he's an ableist. Fuck. So he's a misogynist, a conspiracy theory, and an ableist.
Alright, let the record reflect that we have now added ableism to the list of Kilo's crimes. It is getting quite difficult to keep track, but don't worry, Brittany's on the ball.
So he's decided that because my audience is like me, queer and borderline or whatever we are, who knows? He's decided, oh, that means lonely people. Whoa. Ableist, misogynistic, conspiracy theorist, Mr. Girl Orbiter. This is getting too good, girl. Spicy, bro. Spicy.
Naturally, he must also be an incel.
Look, make whatever content you want, Brittany, but if you're going to market yourself towards lonely and vulnerable people because of the help you can offer them, then you need to decide what role you're going to be playing for these people. You cannot sometimes be their teacher, sometimes their mother, sometimes their wife, and sometimes their friend.
Has this guy never worked a job in his life? That's what I'm saying, bro. Has nobody ever worked in corporate? Has never anyone ever worked at a grocery shop or in a group of people? Everybody knows your managers play all of the roles. Everyone knows everyone in the group plays different roles for each other. And I just don't think this guy is anyone who relies on him. Anybody who's ever looked at him as a person they would have to go to. He probably doesn't have to take care of anybody. So he like spins this narrative that like, I can't be different things for different people. Why not? Why not? Why is it assumed all your viewers are lonely? Because they're lonely. Because they're in a lonely group. This is a Mr. Girl Orbiter. This is a Mr. Girl fan. And Mr. Girl's audience are lonely little narcissists. And so they're all in their little bubble, cesspooling away. Remember that Mr. Girl accused Destiny of running a cult, me of running a cult, Dr. K of being improper with Rectful. He literally went around accusing people of all these things that he is probably doing in his own community. I don't know what he's doing. He got kicked off YouTube. So does it really matter what he's doing? But this is a Mr. Girl Orbiter. So
frankly, this is an odd move from someone that claims to dive deep into people's lives and understand that everyone is on a journey. And Brittany herself even makes this point, alongside accusing Kilo of having a preconceived bias and calling him a Mr. Girl Orbiter, still based on the same single throwaway tweet.
So with peace and love, he has already decided, because he's a Mr. Girl Orbiter, he already decided I was a cult leader. He already decided I was a bad person. So he found every piece of content out of context to prove that I was a bad person. And then he came to a bad conclusion. With peace and love, I know it's your journey. And I know you're probably not a horrible person, but this is a horrible video and I think you should take it down. But you're not going to take it down. Because like, this is the content you want to be known for, right? Hit pieces or whatever. Mr. Girl Orbiter. He obviously had an idea of me in his head from Mr. Girl, right? Because he's Mr. Girl Orbiter. And he decided, oh, I'm going to prove this is true. Instead of asking himself, but is it true? It's called bias and prejudice.
But you know what? I can understand that Brittany is not willing to be charitable towards a guy that just made a hit piece video on her. Although her smack talk is rooted in some wild logical leaps, you could argue that it is somewhat justified. What I take issue with is Brittany introducing gender into the conversation and using misogyny as a defense against criticism, despite much better arguments being easily available to her.
You see, Brittany often tries to just say that she's not doing something to absolve herself of having done it. But
this has got to be misogyny, right? He's a conspiracy theorist and he's a misogynist. Alex says it's easier to protect your character than your argument. I mean, hello. Here we are.
Yeah, we are definitely here. You just spent 2.5 hours shadowboxing Mr. Girl.
In fairness to Brittany, on several occasions she does correctly point out the weaknesses in Kilo's arguments, which primarily have to do with presenting anecdotal evidence without an identifiable source or a direct citation.
is it gives them a social hierarchy. Brittany's at the top, of course, And from what I've been told, it really seems like if Brittany likes you, she assigns you a higher number. And if she doesn't, you get a lower number. The co-author of the level system was also a level 5.
Nope,
And
wrong. This guy literally has 0 receipts.
Brittany tries to downplay how much her husband was a fan of hers before they got married, but I've
Because it's weird, dude. It's weird to marry like a person who thinks like, oh my god, Brittany Simon.
been told by multiple of her former fans that he was a prominent member of her community and spent a ton of time in her Discord server before they met.
Once we got very serious, he basically stopped interacting with the community. But my person stopped interacting with the Discord the moment we thought it would be inappropriate. Okay? And Ingrid in chat says, he left right away, I can confirm. Thank you, Ingrid.
Brittany's smoking gun in this response video is showing the wider context behind a clip that Kilo presents in his video.
Remember, Brittany also has an OnlyFans, where apparently before she got married, she had gone on dates with customers, and she thinks it's up to the customer to assess whether she's actually interested in them or not.
To say like, oh yeah, we're gonna be together, but it's part of the persona, then it's more on the audience member to be really reasonable with how they're interacting with a persona. So I think there is a very blurred, nuanced line, and you can't always know what you're dealing with. So, you know, act with caution.
And
So he is making the claim that I said that about myself, right? Receipt number 1, Brittany. Receipt number 1. Okay, here we go. Bringing up the receipts, cause my boy's a liar. My boy's I don't think my boy's a Mr. Girl or Birder liar.
Kilo makes the statement that in this clip, Brittany describes the way that she personally conducts her sex work business, while the wider context shows that she lists several models of how people may choose to conduct such business, including ethical and unethical ways of doing so. In reality, the truth is somewhere in the middle, in that that clip was indeed not Brittany's description of how she conducts her business, but it was a model that she did call ethical. It doesn't matter. It's a pretty long and boring clip. If I choose to include it, we'll just speed through it. The point is, I'll award this point to Brittany.
I do practice a very specific kind of ethical sex positivity, where if I'm a sex worker, I try to be very honest with my audience. I don't pretend that I'm available. I don't pretend that I'm available. He made the claim that what I said earlier was about myself. I don't pretend that we're ever gonna meet. I don't pretend that I'm ever gonna date you. I don't lie to you about my relationship status. I wear my wedding ring, my engagement ring in my videos. And I still wear my wedding ring. They all know I'm married. I have women and men and theys in my audience on OF. Okay, so here's me talking about my career, and then I go on to give an example of how someone else might run their business, and he had the audacity to clip me out of context. Why are we even watching this video if you're gonna clip me out of that kind of content? I am not trying to trick people into thinking I'm single and could possibly date you. There are some artists, some sex workers. There are some sex workers, people who aren't me, do this ethically and unethically. Some who do it ethically are putting on a persona, and the persona is what you're falling in love with. You're not falling in love with the real person. But I think people with parasocial relationships can forget that and turn it toxic. Then there are content creators who maliciously intend to lie to their customers, who maliciously actually try to almost gaslight and convince their customers, like, I'm gonna be with you. I am literally giving the example of a bad, unethical person, and he clipped me out of context to say, that's what I was saying about myself. Fuck you. Misogyny? Clearly. Okay, conspiracy theorist? Obviously. Mr. Girl Orbiter? 1000%.
The issue is that Brittany just cannot help herself but bring up misogyny instead of letting her argument stand on its own.
Listen to me when I say this. There is a boy bubble on this fucking internet that is misogynistic and conspiracy theorist. And at least 2 of them have already been banned. Thank fucking God for harassment. Mr. Girl is gone and J-Stock is gone. And now a Mr. Girl Orbiter who has connections to J-Stock, and J-Stock works for Destiny. So pay fucking attention, allegedly, according to the internet. Okay? Listen to the trail of loser men on the internet that create content against women who are obviously hustling better than them, obviously making more money than them, obviously more happy than them. And they have the audacity to clip me so fucking out of context and be like, yes, she definitely fucking said something she absolutely, obviously didn't say.
But Brittany does not stop here. She somehow extrapolates this rhetoric into a wider narrative of us versus them comparison of men and women.
Now that we've had a taste of a boy bubble giving their thoughts and opinions on me, look at how women reply to me, and understand that the women bubble is very interested in philosophy, very interested in astrology, spirituality, therapy, knowing people. We're big readers. A lot of us read, okay? Just listen to the way that they talk about the levels really fast, and then understand that there's something about a very toxic boy bubble that exists on the internet that cannot handle that girls are interested in people and we deep dive into people's lives. But look at how girls talk about me.
Fucking shit.
All right, out of context.
And good thing my audience is mostly women, because the truth is, We sit here and we look for the truth. The men do the laziest research I've ever seen. The laziest research I've ever seen. This is men's contribution to the world? No, thank you. The reason I love having a girl audience is like girl audiences touch grass more than boy audiences. They're very social. They're community builders. They are people that people rely on them in their lives. Literally, the way women do philosophy is like we're really exploring ideas. Men are just trying to be right. Men think philosophy is debate. Yes, philosophy, some of it is about debate. But a lot of people and a lot of men, okay, a lot of Western men, a lot of Eastern-styled men obviously know philosophy is more. That's why they try to attack Dr. K, because he's brown and because he does Eastern philosophy. And the Western boys are just too stupid to get it. So they get mad at him and they go, he's woo-woo. Dr. K is woo-woo. Dr. K doesn't know what he's talking about, but you know who does? My philosophers, like Marcus Aurelius, who had little boy slaves. Oh yeah, they're super smart. But shut the fuck up, bro. Why are boys so dumb? Not all boys, but why is this bubble of boys so dumb? How are they not able to understand? Because I'm telling you, they're just uneducated, but instead of thinking they're the uneducated ones, they go, pretty girl, pretty stupid, I boy, I smart, boy smart, girl stupid. They're misogynists. They're conspiracy theorists, and they're misogynists, period. So now we're back in the Mr. Girl Orbiter bubble, where the Orbiter is accusing me of running a cult because they're too brain dead to understand anything I'm saying, and then blame me because I'm a woman because they're too dumb to understand what I'm saying. I love this. This is great. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous. I really wish, I am looking forward, okay, again, women bubbles don't punish you for having a bad day. We help you get better, not a big deal. But also more than that, the women who have made videos on me generally are pretty good. The criticisms are really good. They're really lovely.
No problem, girl. To be clear, I am not accusing Brittany of misandry. In fact, some of her friends are men. In this video, she's quite complimentary towards the failed streamer and professional linguini TomFoolery, who debated Kilo on his stream.
Okay, so P.S., the guy who made the video, Kilo, is that his name? So Tom wrote down notes on the screen, okay, of things Kilo had a problem with. Dates and marries people in her community. It was one person, okay, that I married. I don't know if you know this, I'm monogamous. Blurry lines on friendships with clients. Client is like a loose word, but okay. Engages in sex work and advertises it on YouTube, so he's sex negative. So I, as an OnlyFans person, can't also be a YouTuber. She talks to mentally ill people, more risk. You mean everyone on Earth? I think everyone on Earth has trauma and has mental health problems. Every single person. It's just on a spectrum, and then it's a matter of how in recovery you are. And okay, that's the notes from Kilo personally, okay.
Girl, they literally aren't. You just said that those were notes that Tom had typed up. In fact, he had typed those up when talking to a completely different person, Ryle Kittenhouse, who joined the call before Kilo, and whom, by the way, you ended up blocking from your chat on your stream.
But of course, lest we forget,
By the way, the guy making the video is a Dr. Girl Orbiter. He's like a Dr. Girl. Fuck me. He's a Mr. Girl Orbiter, okay?
In case you're confused at this point, yes, we are still going off of that one singular throwaway tweet. Good thing TomFoolery never made a joke that could potentially be misconstrued as being misogynistic. So no, I am not calling Brittany a misandrist. I am calling her a misogynist, and not because I don't like her or disagree with her. That would be a Brittany move.
And if you go back and watch those videos and watch Kyla smother Destiny because of her internalized misogyny, which, to shout out to Kyla, we all suffer from. Independent women suffer from internalized misogyny. Kyla just made a video saying that she's super in the boy bubble, and there's a lot of confusion about whether men respect her or just think she's pretty. It's because you're in the boy bubble. Sounds stressful, girl. I wish you the best. It's because you're in a boy bubble. Like, that's why I have a... That's why Rand was like an isolated pick-me who had a whole philosophy system she didn't even write down herself. Her student had to do it. It is rough being one of the only girls in the space who's really saying like, hey, I think you're being misogynistic. And everyone's like, no, don't do that. You're making girls look bad. There was another woman who was on Wick's panel and it was like, all these women are obsessed with The Body Keeps the Score. I bet Brittany Simon loves that book. That's misandry. Or that's misogyny. That's internalized misogyny.
I am calling Brittany a misogynist because all of this, the sum total of the arguments that she makes in this response stream, does more to hurt the feminist cause than to support it. Introducing gender into a conversation where it had previously not been a factor, accusing your opponent of misogyny with zero evidence, instead of actually engaging with their arguments, and promoting this wild generalized us versus them narrative, only furthers the stereotype that women are irrational, malicious, and, well, just plain stupid. You cannot hope to achieve gender equality, which is what you presumably want, if you do not even view yourself as equal. Some bad faith apples out there might say that Britney went ham on the misogyny claim from the get-go in order to poison the well for her audience, but to me it seems more likely that you, Britney, feel like you have to resort to playing the misogyny card because you do not trust yourself to be able to combat criticism and negativity on an intellectual level. And when I call you the worst kind of misogynist in my thumbnail, I obviously don't mean that it's because your rhetoric is the most damaging. It is because it's the most frustrating. Because if everything that you said about yourself, even just this one video, is true, then you really should be able to stand by your work without having to resort to cheap cop-outs. In the words of a supposedly wise woman,
Obviously, the defensiveness is the first thing you need to check. Like, why are you defensive? You know, why does this make you feel this way? And instead of making a video, maybe you should have asked yourself or dug a little deeper, or been more curious. Here's my theory, and this has been my theory for a long time. I just, like, don't think people are curious. I just don't think people are actually very curious. And I think because of that, hold on, I gotta ban this fucking person from my chat who's now claiming like, oh, I'm just a troll on Tom's stream. I don't mean anything. I'm actually a Brittany Simon fan. Okay, well, you can take your fandom somewhere else, bro.
and in my own words, maybe it's not misogyny. Maybe you just suck.
Mr. Girl Orbiters are the worst. You know what I mean?